So who is the player in the NBA? Steph comes to mind, but I'm going to asterisk this, who is kind of perfect in being the superstar, who could be a coach killer and could be the de facto GM, but I won't say just totally isn't, but plays the role correctly. LeBron is way too involved. Let's say Jimmy Butler. There's a guy who has a huge headache and has never been a seamless member of a team, but he gets in this great situation. And the asterisk with Steph is maybe it's easy to defer to Steve Kerr once Steve Kerr tells you everything he could do. So does anyone really play that role correctly? Look at what Kawhi did with Pop, who should be unassailable. So I don't know who's better, so much better than Giannis in this factor of being a superstar.
It's only Steph. It's only Steph. And it's only Steph, and it's easier when you figure out or reach the conclusion that your coach is competent, because if you don't trust him, that's a different thing altogether. And I think Steph's got this really smart insight that delegation is liberation. I don't know why I'm rhyming up here like I'm I've been listening
to
Cochran.
A lot of Gavin Newsom podcasts. He does that too, by the way. That is special skill.
Delegation is liberation, folks. It's
and
true,
in the
though.
English Premier League, it will lead to relegation.
Oh, no, not relegation. But it's true, because these players, they're competitive. They want power. Power is a marker of how much they've achieved. And sometimes power can help them. GM LeBron has, I think, changed his own situation for the better, probably at a few different turns. But there's a cost to it all. There's a cost to taking on jobs that maybe are going to absorb bandwidth. And also, you're probably not going to be as good at it as somebody whose only job is that thing. And with Steph, I think there's just been throughout his career this sense of, I'm going to focus on what I focus on. I'm going to get as great at it as I can get. And I'm going to leave the other stuff to Bob Myers, now Dunleavy, and Steve. And Steve's going to handle the coaching. And I'm not going to get involved in this whole, we need to be doing things differently the way I want to do it. The way all these other guys do it is more pick and roll. Give me the ball, more pick and roll, top of the key. And I think that helps you. That helps you have sustainability and be able to completely do everything that you need to do within your own responsibility. I understand why other guys in that position do it differently. There's got to be such temptation to try to change things in your favor if you've got the power to change things in your favor. Mm-hmm. As a parent, I understand that. It's hard sometimes to just not spend way too much money or just do too much for your kids, because if you could do something for your kids, how could you not do something for your kids? But yeah, I think just the ability to say that's enough and this is what I'm doing is something that's benefited him. And I understand why there aren't many guys who do that when they've got that power.
The best intervention is so often non-intervention. We found this that needed a knockdown, drag-out statistical revolution, mocking Joe Morgan every day to convince major league managers not to sacrifice and not to hit behind the runner. That's one example. But another one is I interviewed these two Princeton professors, Macedo and Lee, and they wrote a book called In COVID's Wake. And the statistic is non-pharmaceutical interventions, everything about masking, everything about hand washing, everything that was not the vaccine did nothing. If you look at the states that did it a lot and you look at the states that locked down a little, no death rate difference other than, normed for everything other than the vaccine. And it is because if you are a leader, what is leadership? Leadership can't be not saying and doing, right? Leadership is always the impetus to do, and that's so often the wrong thing. And it's great. And it's only because Steph is comfortable in this. That's for a lot of reasons, but it's because he has been shown you have to have proved to you over and over. And that's why the example of Kawhi, who I have enormous respect for, but if Kawhi can blow up Pop, then anyone could blow up anyone. And if Jimmy Butler can force trades out of the Heat, which I think of as among the most functional franchises in sports, it's very hard to think that, well, he's a special personality trait. He has special personality, Butler. But yeah, it's really hard to do it. I don't know. Who else is Chris Paul good at that? Who are some of these reasonable, respected superstars?
I think it's hard for them too, because insecurity just leads to instability. As I'm going through my various,
you do, Kevin. There's some
insecurity leads to instability, and these guys, I think, have more reason to be insecure or more information coming back to them. I even wrote a book about how the social media era had made NBA superstars crazy, that they get all this just feedback that makes them insecure. And I'm part of it. I have to say, my guilty pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't feel proud of it, when an NBA player in the playoffs fails miserably, I do like to search his name on Twitter X and just see all the funny memes. I do enjoy that. I might have been doing that recently after Game 5 for James Harden, because people will be ruthless and they will be funny when they Photoshop, or maybe not even Photoshop. I think James Corden actually wore a Laker jersey, and after a bad Luka performance, and they'll get really funny with it. They like to do the whole face swap stuff and make Luka look like D'Angelo Russell. They'll do whatever, and it'll be very funny. And people like to do that for the players that, you know, aren't their favorite players, and avoid it when there is their favorite players. But these guys get all of that, and I think it hits them more, even if the criticism was more biting in the newspapers and on TV from Peter Vesey back in the day. There's just more of it, and then they feel like they got to do something. And that's why all these people who are TV hosts are crazy, Mike. All these people, you've got that famous Bill O'Reilly Do It Live clip, but the people, I only got one little taste of it once. One taste of it. I was doing a hit for Sports Center, and I was at the Target Center. I think it was the 2016 Warriors run, and it was noisy, and I was on the floor in pregame, and I'm just talking, and I'm looking at that abyss of the camera, and I just feel my earpiece sliding slowly out of my ear, and then I feel it fall, and I look into that abyss, and I realize that I'm on live television, and I cannot hear anything that's being said to me in the hit. And I don't know where the clip is, and I don't know how it went. I had to fake my way through it because there was this little other part of the camera where I could see when the guy stopped talking.
Right, yeah.
Because nobody's actually listening. That's the beautiful part about that. Nobody actually cares what's said in any of those instances. You can say anything. So you can do the thing of, yeah. And, you know, the thing about what Steve wants to do with the team, I got to mention, is it doesn't have to necessarily connect. Maybe what we're doing right now is figuring out why I got fired from ESPN, and I had no idea. But that terror, there's that terror, that feeling of, I'm up here, I'm being judged. This is a whole operation, but I take the fall. And it makes these people on television into monsters and divas. It makes them crazy. And I think that's what these NBA players deal with when they're superstars is, look, I'm going to get crushed. It's my name on the marquee. It's my legacy at stake. And I can't sit still with it. I can't just accept whatever the situation is. I'm just roiled by this sort of pulsating insecurity and fear. And that's why I've got to shake things up.
Yeah. And football players have helmets, and baseball players play in a sport that only baseball fans like. When was the last time someone got on Spencer Strider for doing something wrong? So, yeah.